4th of July recess.
Tell them as they swallow their pride that you don't care, that you don't have a heart.
The debate in the House was emotionally charged.
Democrats should put an end to this sham and pay for this $34 billion spending bill.
In the end, the unemployment extension passed 270 to 153, but it was a futile effort because the Senate, for the third time in 3 weeks, failed to pass the bill last night. Will not take it up again until after the 4th of July recess. That means Americans who've lost their benefits will have to wait at least another 10 days. So whose fault is that? On the surface, it appears Senate Republicans are to blame. Led by Mitch McConnell, they killed the bill with a filibuster. But McConnell points the finger at Democrats, especially leader Harry Reid, for refusing to pay for the bill in the stage of sky-high deficits.
The only reason the unemployment extension hasn't passed is because our friends on the other side simply refuse to pass a bill that does not add to the debt.
Reid calls that a weak excuse.
Democrats and Republicans have always extended unemployment benefits because it's an emergency.
Democrats also have themselves to blame. One Democrat, Ben Nelson of Nebraska, voted no. If he had voted with the party, the bill had passed. Now, when the Senate returns in about 10 days from its 4th of July recess, the expectation is that there will be a replacement for Robert Byrd, who passed away this week. That should give the Democrats the votes they need to pass the unemployment bill. Scott.
Thanks, Jim. You know, it may be worth noting that the vacationing senators make about $174,000 a year and enjoy lifetime health and pension benefits. As for the late Senator Byrd, an honor guard carried his casket into the Senate, where the 92-year-old had served longer than anyone in history. He lay in repose, the first senator honored this way in 51 years. Tomorrow, there will be a memorial service for Byrd in West Virginia, and Saturday, burial in Arlington, Virginia. Turning now to the Gulf of Mexico, on day 73, it is now clear by the most conservative estimate the disaster is the largest oil spill accident in human history. There was a larger spill in the Persian Gulf during the 1991 war, but that was unleashed on purpose by Saddam's army. This spill continues to grow in the Gulf of Mexico by more than 1 million gallons every day. As for Hurricane Alex, which pushed more oil toward shore, it's losing strength tonight as it moves through Mexico. Mark Strassman begins our coverage in Grand Isle, Louisiana. Mark?
Scott, every day this spill grows more epic, and for cleanup work to begin again, the skies have to clear up and Alex has to clear out completely.
Today, this barge reappeared on Barataria Bay to block oil from floating in. But stormy waters still docked smaller cleanup boats, scattered boom, and left coastlines vulnerable.
Our onshore and nearshore skimming and recovery operations have been significantly hampered by the weather.
These waters are just too choppy for skimmers to be effective. Patties of oil keep floating into Barataria Bay, pushed in by Alex's surge. And until the storm completely passes, no one can do a thing about it. On land, same issue. Alex pushed all this oil several hundred yards inland, beyond the coast and into these grasses for the very first time. This cleanup job just got tougher. This Taiwanese super skimmer might help. More than 3 football fields long, 10 stories high, and never tested. BP told CBS News it has no plans to use it, but the Coast Guard wants to try it out. Bob Dudley would decide.
I know that people don't trust oil companies.
On YouTube, BP's new point man on the spill answered America's questions about his company's response.
We will find a way to shut this well off.
Shelley Landry owns Grand Isle's only grocery store. Its business down 60%. She was unimpressed.
They're not answering our calls. They're not answering our cry for help that we need to stop this.
Tomorrow is shaping up as the 3rd straight day this cleanup could lose to bad weather. The forecast calls for an 80% chance of rain. Scott?
Mark Strassman at the Gulf. Thank you, Mark. One thing that BP is investing in heavily is an ad campaign telling the American people that it will make the disaster right. Well, we wondered what BP's track record is for settling with people that it has harmed in the past. Our chief investigative correspondent, Arnold Tatum, came back with an unsettling story.
this is just the beginning.
It's the public promise from the very public face of BP.
What we have done so far is to pay every claim that's been presented to us.
A promise from the start to, quote, make it right.
We will make this right.
To all those harmed by the spill.
You turn up at the claims office within 48 hours, you'll give them a check.
But those words ring hollow now to fishermen still waiting to be paid, businessmen getting pennies on the dollar. Especially to those who have heard it all before, men like Ralph Dean.
If they make it right, it's because they were forced to make it right. You gotta drag it out of them, you gotta drag everything out of them. Every last nickel.
Dean was a ringing foreman at the BP oil refinery in Texas City, Texas in March 2005. When a fuel tower at the refinery exploded, Dean's co-workers, including his wife and father-in-law, buried in the rubble.
We had torture trailers and my wife was in there. Sorry about that. That's all right.
This bear of a man dug through the wreckage with his bare hands.
Apparently we see him, his insulation starting to bleed. It was the top of my wife's head.
Elisa Dean was burned over 20% of her body. Her lungs collapsed, her neck and back broken, but she was alive. Her father, Larry Thomas, died instantly. 14 others were killed, 170 injured. As part of this July 2005 legal settlement, BP promised to pay all medical expenses incurred by Elisa Dean and others.
Same kind of promises they're making now. All my medical bills will be paid.
But BP didn't pay the bills. And 3 months later, the Deans got this: a lien from the hospital on all of the family assets for unpaid medical bills totaling more than $600,000.
They decided not to pay the bills because they just didn't feel like it.
The Dean's lawyer wrote 5 letters to BP's law firm asking the company to honor its commitment, and got no response. It appears BP never intended to pay. In this letter obtained by CBS News, BP lawyers wrote to Elisa Dean's insurance company. Despite spending 3 months in a burn unit, half of that time in a coma, the letter refers to her burns as alleged injuries and claims the Deans, not BP, were required to reimburse you 100%.
It is trauma upon trauma upon trauma. It's unfairness on top of unfairness.
So unfair, the Deans were forced to sue BP in April 2006 to get what they were promised. Then just before the trial, 1 full year after Elisa left the hospital, BP finally paid. A company spokesman at the time called it all an inadvertent administrative delay.
What would you say to the families and the victims of Deepwater? Whatever you get, you're going to fight for it. So get ready for a long fight.
Armin Katayan, CBS News, Corpus Christi, Texas.
Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, it is one of the most divisive issues in the land. President Obama just jumped in.
Time to start a relationship. Some insurance companies seem to think so. But 6 months later, when you've been broadsided by an SUV, what do you call it? Not the name of the company, but the name of the person.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
At Allstate, you get a licensed professional who'll stand by you, not just a voice in a phone bank. You deserve a real relationship. That's Allstate stand. Are you in good hands?
Fact. When pain keeps you up, nothing is proven to help you fall asleep faster than Advil PM liquid gels. Rushing real liquid relief to ease you to sleep fast. For nighttime pain, make Advil PM your #1 choice.
We asked real people to film themselves taking the Activia 14-day challenge.
I'm Mariella Smith, so I'm really excited to see if this really works.
Cal just started to notice a slight difference in my digestion. Take the Activia challenge.
Here at the Ford Model Year-End Sales Event, Joel's daughter has fallen in love with Ford Focus. And really, who can blame her? Focus is good-looking and very smart. That same technology is like a giant brain. And now, Ford Focus is highest ranked in initial quality. Very attractive. As for Joel, he's not losing a daughter. He's getting the Focus.
Hurry into the Ford Model Year End Sales Event and get a Focus for 0% financing for 60 months. What are you waiting for? Black one.
It can happen anytime. An everyday moment can turn